You were there, you were awake, you were watching, listening, feeling everything, and then it vanished. Every single moment of the first 3 years of your life, gone, not faded, not blurry, gone. And the strange part is you have no idea what you lost. Right now, somewhere on Earth, a 2-year-old is having the most intense emotional experience of their life. Their first real fear, their first moment of pure joy so big it makes them fall over, their first time tasting something extraordinary, and in 30 years they will remember none of it. Not a frame, not a feeling, not a single second. It will be as if it never happened, as if they were never even there. That should disturb you more than it does. This is called infantile amnesia, and scientists have been arguing about why it happens for over 100 years. Sigmund Freud was the first to name it, back in 1899. He thought the memories were there, buried, repressed, locked behind the part of your mind that couldn't handle what it had seen. He was wrong about that, but he was right that the forgetting was real, profound, almost total. The question is why? Your first instinct might be that babies just aren't forming memories yet, that the brain is too undeveloped, too raw, too new to hold anything. But that instinct is wrong, completely wrong, and the evidence is fascinating. Babies form memories. They form them constantly. A newborn can recognize its mother's voice within hours of being born, a voice it learned while still inside the womb. By 3 months, an infant can remember a mobile that hung above its crib for weeks. By 6 months, babies show clear signs of recognizing faces, places, and routines. They are learning, they are storing. Something is happening inside that small skull that looks a great deal like memory, and yet it disappears, all of it. In the 1980s, psychologist Carolyn Rovi Collier ran a series of experiments that changed how scientists thought about infant memory. She tied a ribbon from a baby's foot to a mobile hanging above the crib. When the baby kicked, the mobile moved. Babies as young as 2 months learned this connection within minutes. They remembered it days later. They got excited when they saw the same mobile again. Their tiny foot started kicking before the ribbon was even attached. That is memory. Undeniable, measurable, real memory. And yet those same babies, grown into adults, would remember nothing. Not the mobile, not the ribbon, not the room, nothing. So the memories are forming. They are just not surviving. Something is destroying them, or more accurately, something is failing to preserve them. Here is where it gets strange. Your brain is not finished when you are born, not even close. The hippocampus, the region of your brain most responsible for forming long-term memories, for taking a moment and turning it into something you can recall years later, is one of the last structures to mature. And during the first years of your life, it is doing something remarkable. It is growing new neurons at a rate that will never happen again. This process is called neurogenesis, and it is, paradoxically, the very thing that erases your past. Patricia Bauer at Emory University has studied childhood memory for decades. Her research shows that the memories formed in infancy are not stored in the same way that adult memories are. They exist in a kind of temporary format, short-lived, fragile, and when the hippocampus floods with new neurons, when it is rapidly reorganizing and expanding, those new connections disrupt the older ones. The new wiring overwrites the old. Your brain, in growing itself, erases the record of its own growth. Paul Franklin and Sheena Jocelyn at the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto confirmed this in a series of striking experiments with mice. They found that when they artificially increased the rate of neurogenesis in adult mice, those mice forgot things they had previously learned. When they suppressed neurogenesis in young mice, the young mice retained memories far longer than normal. The forgetting, it turned out, was not a failure of the system. It was the system working exactly as designed. Growth requires erasure. Development costs something. But that still doesn't fully explain why you have no memories from before roughly age 3. Because the hippocampus is not the only thing missing in infancy, something else is missing too, something you might not expect. Language. Not just the words, the structure, the scaffold, the ability to take an experience and wrap it in a narrative, to say this happened, then I felt this, and this is what it meant. That structure does not exist in infancy, and without it, memory has nowhere to anchor, nowhere to live long term. A moment happens, it is felt, it is intense, and then, because there is no story to attach it to, it dissolves. Catherine Nelson at City University of New York spent years studying the relationship between language development and the emergence of autobiographical memory, the kind of memory that makes you you, the kind where you remember things that happened to you, not just how to do things or what things look like. She found that children begin forming lasting autobiographical memories right around the same time they begin constructing narrative, around age 3, around the time language becomes not just a tool for asking for things, but a tool for telling stories. Your first memories are not your first memories, they are your first stories. Think about what that means. Every moment before language was a pure, wordless, structureless experience. Sensations without labels, emotions without names, pain without the concept of before or after, joy without the ability to say I am happy. Your infant self lived inside a permanent, unanchored present. Everything was now. Nothing could become then. And here is the twist that should stop you for a moment. That is not how you think anymore. You live almost entirely in narrative, in the story of yourself. You wake up and you already know who you are, what happened yesterday, what is coming next week. Your sense of self is built from memory, from the ongoing story you carry about where you have been and where you are going. But you were not always like this. There was a version of you, a real, breathing, feeling, awake version of you, who lived without any of that, who had no past and no future, only now. And that version of you is completely unreachable. You cannot go back to it. You cannot remember it. You cannot even imagine it accurately, because the act of imagining requires the very narrative machinery that infant version of you didn't have. You are not the same person who was a baby, not in any continuous, rememberable way. The self you call you began somewhere around your 3rd birthday. Everything before that is prehistory, your personal prehistory, and it shaped you anyway. This is the part that researchers find most unsettling. The experiences you cannot remember did not disappear without consequence. The quality of your early attachment to caregivers, whether you were held, soothed, responded to, or left crying in the dark, wired your nervous system in ways that still govern how you feel about closeness, safety, and trust today. The stress you experienced before you had words for stress left marks on your stress response system. Your earliest sensory experiences shaped your aesthetic instincts, your food preferences, your comfort with certain sounds and smells and textures in ways you will never be able to trace back to their source. You carry the past you cannot remember. It is in you. It built you. You just have no access to it. This is what developmental psychologist Daniel Siegel calls implicit memory. The body remembers what the mind cannot. The nervous system holds what the hippocampus erased. You might feel inexplicably calm in certain rooms, drawn to certain foods, uneasy around certain kinds of people, and have no idea why. The reason might be sitting in the first 2 years of your life, filed away in a part of you that stores sensation rather than story. You are, in a very real sense, haunted by memories you will never be able to recall. And consider this. You did not just lose your memories, you lost the witness, the self who would have remembered. That version of you, alert, curious, absorbing everything, had no way to record what it was experiencing into any form you could later retrieve. It was fully present in a way you will never be again. Totally, completely inside the moment. Not narrating, not constructing, not worrying about what it meant. Just there. Maybe that is not only a loss. Contemplative traditions across human history have described something, a state of pure awareness without commentary, without story, without the constant background noise of self-narration, as something worth spending a lifetime trying to return to. Meditation teachers spend years trying to reach the kind of present moment awareness that was simply the default condition of your existence before age 3. You spent your earliest years in a state that mystics describe as enlightenment. You just have no memory of it. Tonight, when you try to remember something from your very early childhood and find nothing, just a blank wall where the beginning of your life should be, you are not discovering that nothing happened. You are discovering how much had to be given up for you to become who you are. The cost of language, the cost of narrative, the cost of a self. You were there, you were awake, you were feeling everything, and the price of becoming you was forgetting all of it.